Searching in the direction the creature was walking, we discovered dozens of tracks along a creek.
Why are they howling like that? Is that a howl? I heard so. It sounded like a howl. Maybe let's see, like this mound over here. I just want to see if there's any action.
Hang on, up the hill a little bit.
What the is that?
We got a target here. Came up from behind a tree.
For decades, the legend of Bigfoot has haunted North America's forests, an elusive giant glimpsed by those who venture into the wild. Witnesses report eerie calls, massive footprints, and dark figures slipping beyond sight. Now, chilling encounters and strange footage force researchers and locals to question the impossible. Could something massive still roam these woods, hiding in plain view? The Sync Sasquatch footage in Logan Canyon of Utah. It became clear to investigators after doing a size comparison on location, using a man that is 6 feet tall and 220 pounds, how large this Sasquatch is around 1 to 2 feet taller than the human is, and is over twice as wide and twice as thick. It's too big to a man, too heavy. He is confident that the video is legit and believes a large hominid species did indeed exist. This thing, whatever it is, it's not human. He kept his eyes fixed in the direction. The creature had walked the fading footsteps, stirring a quiet question in the back of his mind. What was it really searching for? He discovered dozens of tracks scattered across the ground, fresh, overlapping and hinting at a presence both recent and elusive, as if the creature had left silent warnings. No way. This Sasquatch video is next level, wild, mysterious, and totally mind-blowing when compared to a large man.
And 220 pounds, how large this Sasquatch is. It's around 1 to 2 feet taller than he is, and is over twice as wide and twice as thick. Searching in the direction the creature was walking, we discovered dozens of tracks along a creek that are around 15 inches long and nearly 8 inches wide at the toe splay.
Their expedition led them to the famous Deadly Bomb Site, a place whispered about in fearful legends of Bigfoot. They discovered deep, massive, giant tracks marked the ground, an eerie signature left behind by something vast and elusive. A few feet from a log structure that contains massive logs on a steep mountainside. The track was sunk several inches deep into the soft earth, and its toes stove in the deep mountainside. The track was over 14 inches long and was nearly 8 inches wide at the toe splay. An enormous print that spoke of a creature far larger than anything they had ever seen. Only a few steps ago, from a massive log structure, the huge Bigfoot track pressed deep into the earth, a hunting reminder that something immense and unknown was near. This Bigfoot track was only a few feet away from a massive log structure. It was pointed right towards this structure, which appeared to be filled with heavily relocated logs.
The track was sunk in a few inches, and its toes drove into the steep mountainside. The track was over 14 inches long and was nearly 8 inches wide at the toe splay. This Bigfoot track was only a few feet away from a massive log structure. It was pointed right towards this structure that appears to be...
This remarkable footage comes from the hit series Expedition Bigfoot, and what it captures is one of the most intense moments of their entire investigation. Mireya and Russell were deep in the mountainside, working with what they called the ultimate tracking system, an advanced piece of technology capable of detecting bipedal figures that human eyes might miss. Then, suddenly, the system lit up. They had a hit. Russell was already in the field, taking up position, while Bryce monitored the surveillance array. The team could see Russell's live feed on the monitors when something unexpected happened. A figure appeared on the array. It moved from behind a tree, partially visible, but undeniably upright, and it wasn't a member of their team. "That's not one of us," Bryce confirmed. Who, or what, was it?
There's Russ right there.
Russell Bryce. I hear you, Russ. Go
Go for Bryce. You should be able to see me. Do you have me?
Yeah, we do see you on the surveillance array. Looking good, buddy.
Awesome, man. Let me know if there's anything I need to pay attention to.
Copy that.
Thank you, Bryce.
Stay safe.
Hang on, up the hill a little bit.
What the is that?
We got a target here. Came up from behind a tree.
Bryce quickly radioed Mireya, urging her to get closer to the target. Meanwhile, Russell scanned the soil beneath his feet, picking up disturbances, impressions, signs that something large had been moving through this area recently. And then things got even stranger.
Holy.
Hey, Maria. The AI's acquired a target coming up to you.
It's really close. I'd say about 200 yards to the southwest, and it looks big. Are you seeing anything?
I'm not seeing anything. I'm going to keep going in the southwest direction. Keep your eyes on it and let me know if it changes direction. All right, let's keep moving.
Bryce spotted movement again. This time something was coming fast, heading straight toward Russell's position. Russell received the direction and immediately moved to intercept. His breathing quickened, the forest eerily quiet around him except for the sound of distant rain. Meanwhile, Mireya was still closing in on the first heat signature. That's when the team realized something shocking. They weren't tracking just one figure. There were two targets.
I'm seeing a lot of stuff in the soil, disturbances. This whole area has been pushed up a little bit.
As Mireya heads towards the heat signature, on the other side of the mountain, Russell searches his target area.
A lot of stuff moving right through here. It's almost like I feel a little hidden sidewalk here.
Holy. I am getting something coming up on Russ. Are you seeing that?
Yeah, it's big.
But the conditions were quickly turning against them. The mountain weather shifted without warning. The drizzle became heavy rain, and waves of dense fog began rolling in, cutting visibility to almost nothing. The tracking system started to fail. "We're losing signal," Bryce called out. With the storm worsening and the targets vanishing into the mist, the team was left with more questions than answers. Who or what were they closing in on? And were they the hunters or the hunted? One thing was certain. Whatever was out there had vanished just as quickly as it had appeared, swallowed by the fog.
Russ for Bryce.
Russell, I got you loud and clear, man.
Something just broke a stick out in front of me.
Less than 100 yards. How close am I?
If you stay that course, you should be able to intercept.
Copy that. Moving in.
It's just incredibly hard right now with this terrain and this weather.
We are going to have a lot of potential Bigfoot evidence. Not much happens in this part of Florida. Has anyone here ever spotted Bigfoot? Hands up. A man named Jeff, unfolding his experience 3 days ago, stopped at the north entrance at Mika River State Park. He felt something was watching him. Suddenly he stopped. He looked to his right where he made eye contact with a very tall, hairy creature. He greeted the creature, a shaggy beast, a simple "hey." Without a word, it turned around and ambled into the woods, vanishing between the trees.
My name is Jeff. This happened 3 days ago. Stopped at the north entrance to Mika River State Park. I felt that something was watching me. I stopped, I looked to my right, and I made eye contact with a very tall, hairy hominid, and I said, "Hey!" And it turned around and ambled off into the woods.
Another boy standing nearby spoke up about his encounter. He was walking and felt like something or someone was staring at him. So he turned around and was astonished to see the large creature. He was amazed. What do you think about the creature? Could it be a Sasquatch? He pulled the scope, zoomed in and put it right at it. It had brown eyes, the nose was flattened out, and all I remember is just watching it. We just turned around and looked like it was completely gone.
Walking and I just felt like somebody was staring at me. So I turned around and I was like, "Who is that?"
I pulled the scope and looked right at it and zoomed in on it.
big brown eyes. The nose was like flattened out. And all I can remember is just watching it breathe. We just turned around and head back to the house, turned around and looked, and it was completely gone.
In April 2012, a man was hitchhiking, and he was going to go down and camp out underneath the underpass. He lay down and slept for a short time, woke up to a weird, strange, and unfamiliar sound that was coming right down the embankment. It was a terrifying moment. We know Mayaka was a hotspot, and the number of witnesses at the town hall just confirmed that. The woman rubbed her eyes, convinced it couldn't be what it looked like. Bigfoot. They all compare it to a bear, a cow, and a human all at once is what it sounded like. The hair was very long, just flowing in the wind all the way down the body.
In April of 2012, and I was going to go down and camp out underneath the underpass. And slept for a little while, and I woke up to a strange sound that was coming right down the embankment. Just like the ah, ah.
Another camper spotted two big red eyes. He backed up, eyes popping. He was like, either I'm hallucinating or that's Bigfoot. No way. The investigators are collecting some pretty interesting reports from all across Southwest Florida, but there are few to focus on, including some that are very recent. They are going to look into those reports and hopefully they can nail down that area that's in the general Mayaka.
And I was like, holy crap.
We're getting some pretty interesting reports here from all across Southwest Florida, but there's a few we want to focus on, including some that are very recent. We're going to look into these reports and hopefully we can nail down an area that's in the general Mayaka area that we can focus on for our final night.
The road was quiet, and he walked it simply to stretch his legs and clear his mind. The air felt strange, and the creepy sensation made him stop. Slowly, he turned to the left, searching for the source of feeling. His breath caught as he made eye contact with a massive ape-like creature watching him silently. He'd heard the tales, but never believed them, until now. That thing could only be Bigfoot. He gave a hesitate, "Hey," and the creature simply ambled off into the trees.
I was walking down the road, just getting a little exercise, and I got a creepy feeling. So I stopped and I looked to the left, and I immediately made eye contact with a big, hairy hominid. I knew the only thing it could be was a Bigfoot. Finally, I said, "Hey!" And it ambled off into the palmettos and disappeared.
What happens when the legend you've only heard about comes knocking on your camper door? Today we dive into a terrifying encounter with a creature known as Bigfoot. Deep in the dense wilderness, a camper was unfolding his horrified experience. He thought it was a figure who caused trouble. He rejected the whole thing without hesitation. That was the moment everything changed for him. He couldn't deny it anymore after that. For outdoorsmen, Ted's story became reality after a violent encounter that night.
All of a sudden, the motorhome shook violently. It listed 30 degrees or so. I would anticipate that the tires just about came off the ground.
While sleeping in his motor camp in the middle of Vancouver Island, he went from doubter to believer. He had no idea what was coming. All of a sudden, the motor shook violently. One moment, silence. The next motor home quaked fiercely. It felt like something had grabbed hold on it and refused to let it go. It listed 30 degrees or so, he would anticipate.
I could see the spectrum of this creature, and it was standing on two legs for sure, and it had two upper limbs, and it was extremely hairy, matted hair.
That the tires just about came off the ground startled. Why does it feel wrong? He realized then it wasn't an earthquake. Something huge was rocking the motorhome. It hit him like cold water. Something big, really, really big. A shadow blotted out of the window, tall, impossibly still. It was already there. He saw the spectrum of that creature. It was standing on 2 legs for sure, and it had 2 upper limbs, and it was extremely hairy knotted hair. It was the posture that chilled him. It wasn't slithering or skittering. Without thinking, he was up, feet on the floor, body in motion. He ran outside, straight at the thing that has no right to stand like a man. The smell in the air was very stinky, strong, almost dead fish, but musky was very prominent.
I got to the tree line where the firelight had stopped. So basically it was where I was looking into blackness and I'm lit up.
He could hear the footsteps of that creature, and it stopped, as it knew he was there. You heard it too, didn't you?
That's when I could hear the footsteps of this creature stop, as it knew I was there.
If I run, will it follow me? The whole moment was still, quiet and eerie. He had no way of defending himself. He pulled himself inside the motorhome, never encountering the creature again. It was winter of 1988, the kind of cold that hangs heavy in the air and turns every breath into fog. Snow lined the narrow roads near Salt Fork State Park in Ohio, and the forest beyond the asphalt looked like a sea of white-dusted trees. Rich LaMonica was finishing up his deliveries for the day, driving his route just like he had 100 times before. The world was quiet, the only sound the hum of his truck's engine and the occasional crunch of snow beneath the tires. Then something caught his eye. Up ahead, on the edge of the woods, something massive moved. At first, Rich thought it might be a deer. This was Ohio, after all. But this was no deer. The figure was enormous, broad-shouldered, and completely covered in dark fur. Black, or maybe a deep chocolate brown, it stood out starkly against the white snow as it stepped toward the tree line. Without thinking twice, Rich hit the brakes.
Taking the straightaway, about halfway through the straightaway is when I noticed a creature, or whatever it was, going through the woods. I couldn't see if it had hair on it, but it was definitely black or a very, very dark brown.
The truck slid slightly on the icy road before coming to a halt. His heart was hammering. Curiosity and adrenaline kicked in as he jumped out of the cab. If that really was Bigfoot, he wasn't about to let it just disappear without trying to get a better look. Rich ran toward the tree line, boots crunching on the icy ground. But the figure was fast. By the time he reached the edge of the woods, it had already vanished into the dense, snow-laden trees. All he could see were a few faint impressions in the snow.
But it was definitely black or a very, very dark brown from head to toe.
LaMonica quickly pulled his truck over.
I hopped down and ran back to see if I could glimpse it any further. It was huge. It was absolutely wide and huge. Because of the outline of the snow and no trees and no leaves, I was able to see it very well, in fact.
Spaced far apart, too far apart to be a man's stride. He stood there in the silence, catching his breath, listening. The forest was still. No birds, no movement, just the echo of his own breathing. Whatever it was, it had been bigger than any man he'd ever seen, with a build that looked more like a linebacker than a human. For years after, Rich replayed that moment over and over in his mind. Could it have been a bear? Maybe. But bears don't walk upright like that.
Around, but I didn't see anything moving. And because I was scheduled to make deliveries, couldn't stay too long.
And whatever this was, it had been on 2 legs, moving quickly and deliberately toward the cover of the woods. Salt Fork has a reputation as one of the biggest Bigfoot hotspots in the United States, with dozens of reported sightings over the years. Rich had heard those stories before, but on that snowy day in 1988, it stopped being just a story for him. He may not have gotten the perfect look at the creature, but he saw enough to know one thing: there was something out there that didn't belong. And it was watching the road just as closely as he was watching the woods. The forest doesn't tell. It only leaves signs. It only leaves sound. And it always leaves the question, what else walks these woods? Not every strange moment in the woods comes with an easy answer. Sometimes it's just a glimpse, a shadow, or a figure that lingers in the back of your mind long after you've left the trail. That's what happened to Tom near Howland, Ohio. He was out with his son and grandson, exploring an access road by Squaw Creek. It was supposed to be just a short stop, nothing out of the ordinary. But as they crossed a wooden bridge, Tom noticed something unusual near the rail. Something small, something the size of a child, sitting still and watching. He pulled out his camera and caught a short video. At the time, he thought if it was child-sized, maybe adults would be nearby too. But when he played the video back, he realized that the one figure was all he had captured. That uneasy feeling stuck with him.
Definitely something was watching us. Thanks for looking at it for me. RMSO states, I enlarged the subject by 400% and slowed the video down so that we can get a better look. Its color seems to be perfect camouflage for the surrounding area. We get a lot of reports from the Ohio area. I'll include a Bigfoot encounter across the border.
The moment bothered him enough that he returned later to measure the railing. Tom stands 6'4". He checked the bottom rail, which sat about 20 inches above the walking deck. The rail itself came up to his knees. He laughed as he explained that there was no way he could fold himself down that small. Whatever had been sitting there, cross-legged against the wood, wasn't him or anyone in his family. RMSO enlarged the clip by 400% and slowed it down for a closer look. The subject appeared to be covered in shades of brown, with even the face a lighter tan. In a few frames you can see what looks like a dome-shaped head. They were careful not to jump to conclusions, not saying it was a juvenile Bigfoot, but pointing out how its coloring blended perfectly with the background, almost like natural camouflage.
And some Sasquatch vocalizations recorded near the Howland, Ohio area too. Tionesta Creek Bigfoot scares family out of Allegheny Forest in Pennsylvania. Jennifer writes RMSO, I'm from Ohio. In 2011, I had an encounter with a Bigfoot in Allegheny National Forest in Pennsylvania.
And Ohio is no stranger to Sasquatch reports. RMSO has logged many over the years, sightings, photographs, even livestock taken from farms. In fact, the team included another account from across the border in Pennsylvania. That story came from Jennifer, who camped with her son and his friend in the Allegheny National Forest back in 2011. On their third morning, while making breakfast, they heard grunts and deep growls moving toward their campsite. At first she thought it might be a hog, but the sound kept coming closer until a massive crash broke the trees. Out of the shadows rose a towering figure, at least 8.5 feet tall. Broad shoulders, hairy frame, walking upright like a man. She grabbed her .44 for protection, but quickly realized a gun would be useless against something that size. Her son and his friend sprinted for the Jeep. Jennifer stood frozen, locked in a moment of eye contact with the creature. Then, without a sound, it turned and walked down the mountain, never once looking back. Other Ohio residents have sent in recordings too. Strange whoops and cries captured late at night, sounds echoing from creek beds and forests.
I told them it must have been a Bigfoot. We stayed until a few hours before dark. The kids wanted to leave. We packed up, loaded the bikes on the trailer, and got out of there.
One man even caught vocalizations on a door cam near Trumbull County, paired with photos of giant log structures in the woods nearby. Taken together, these reports build a picture of mystery. A small figure on a bridge, a towering giant in the forest, voices at night that don't match any known animal. So what was it that Tom filmed that day? A trick of light? A child sitting in a strange way? Or something far more elusive? The woods of Ohio have never given simple answers. They leave us with signs, with sounds, with memories that won't quite fade. And with the same lingering question every time, what else is out there, watching back? It was the end of summer, the kind of warm, quiet night that wraps the forest in stillness. Joe Coca and Vanessa Gutierrez wanted to squeeze in one last camping trip before the season changed. They picked a private spot in the New Mexico wilderness, parked their vehicle, set up camp, and let the night fall around them. The air was cool, stars blanketed the sky, and the forest was calm. Peaceful, almost too peaceful.
Sasquatch they encountered that night, that's also super important because that's another report from that same cluster, that same area.
They eventually fell asleep in their vehicle, comforted by the soft sounds of nature around them. But at 1:30 in the morning, that calm shattered. Joe woke up suddenly. Something had touched the front of their car. He felt a soft thump and heard it through the metal. At first he thought it might be a curious animal, maybe a deer or a raccoon. But then it moved.
It makes its way around the vehicle where we have all of our food.
I saw a tall, dark, broad figure, and it just walked right up against the truck.
The sound of something heavy brushing past the side of the car, slow, deliberate. It wasn't scampering or scurrying. It walked, on 2 feet, and it was circling them. Joe held his breath. Vanessa sat up too, eyes wide, listening. She looked out the window, and that's when she saw it. A tall, broad figure, just barely illuminated by the faint moonlight filtering through the trees. It was huge, its frame blocking part of the woods behind it. No fur patterns, no clothes, just dark, towering, human-like, but not human.
She starts crying. She says, I want to get out of here now. So I jump in the front seat and we pull out and head towards Highway 4.
Vanessa's voice trembled as she whispered, I saw it. She started to cry, pure panic setting in. It wasn't on 4 legs. It was standing, 2 feet. It wasn't an animal, it wasn't human either. Joe knew they couldn't stay.
My whole life, so I've heard lots of animals, and when it walked by, it wasn't like a 4-legged animal. It was standing upright, walking, you know.
He quickly got into the driver's seat, grabbed the keys, and started the car. The headlights turned on, and for a moment they saw a shadow move past. They didn't look back. The tires kicked up dirt as they sped down the road, headlights lighting up the trees, their hearts beating fast with fear. They didn't stop until they hit the highway, miles away from the campsite. Silence filled the car. Shock, disbelief, and that heavy question neither of them could shake. What the hell did we just see?
Numerous accounts by people that say Sasquatches come into campsites and go through their food. We're gonna try to figure out the size of this prowler by putting Vanessa in the same position she was that night when she saw the thing.
To this day, Joe and Vanessa remain shaken by the encounter. Neither one believes it was a bear or mountain lion. It was too tall, too upright, and too deliberate. The way it moved, the way it watched them. It felt intelligent, a predator, but one not from any field guide or textbook. Bigfoot? Sasquatch? Something else entirely?
About there.
Right about here?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna raise my hand up, and when my hand reaches the level where you think the thing's shoulders were, yell stop.
Okay. Stop.
Okay.
6'3".
Top of the shoulders, 6'3".
Maybe some questions don't have answers. But one thing's for sure, Joe and Vanessa won't ever camp in those woods again. And after hearing their story, would you? Footage courtesy of Destination America. This chilling account is taken straight from one of their most unforgettable episodes. A first-hand testimony from a seasoned camper. This wasn't a weekend getaway or a casual family trip. This was deep in the wilderness, remote, rugged, the kind of place you only venture into if you know what you're doing. No fun and games, no tourist campfires. This was survival country. As the sun dipped below the tree line, painting the forest in fading orange light, the group made a decision. Instead of stopping for the night on a mossy finger ridge, they pushed on, another half-mile before making camp. That choice would lead them straight into one of the most terrifying nights of their lives.
We left the trailhead probably, I'm gonna say, around 2 o'clock. We ended up going probably about 1.5 miles past Camp Pleasant.
They were tired but alert, trekking carefully through the brush when it happened. A sound, loud, heavy, violent, shattered the silence. We stopped dead in our tracks, the camper recalled. That crash was big, too big for a branch falling. Something made that sound. Before they could even process it, something else happened. A rock, a large one, came crashing down, landing just 10 feet to their left. It wasn't a random fall, it had been thrown. That's when it hit me, he said. Someone was out there, or something fierce surged through them.
And then all of a sudden we hear this crash. And we just kind of stopped. And the only thing that I could think of at the time was maybe we spooked an elk because the crash was pretty big. It sounded heavy. As we're peering to the left, all of a sudden here comes a rock. And it lands about 10 feet to the left of us. It was deliberately thrown. And at that point, time just kind of freezes.
Were they being hunted? Was this an ambush? The forest felt suddenly alive with tension, every shadow now suspect. And then it happened again. Another rock, same size, same weight, landed in the exact same spot as the first. Deliberate, calculated. That's when it got real, he admitted. This wasn't random. Whatever it was letting us know it was there.
As we're processing that, another rock flies and lands, almost hits the other one. Very accurately thrown. Lands about 10, 12 feet to the left of us again. And then it's just like it got real at that moment. There was an overwhelming feeling of being in trouble, being in danger. Something felt very wrong. It was a very dreadful feeling.
The group went into full panic mode and ran. The woods, once quiet, now seemed to close in around them. Every step felt heavy, every second stretched into slow motion. Adrenaline flooded their bodies, but it wasn't enough to drown out the dread. That's when the camper remembered. He had a .357 Magnum in his pack. He stopped, hands shaking, and pulled out the weapon. It was his only source of confidence in that moment. He turned, and that's when he saw it. Standing just beyond the tree line was a figure, massive, dark, its shoulders impossibly wide, its posture upright and powerful. I knew what I was looking at, he said. That was Bigfoot. Time seemed to freeze. The creature didn't move. It just stood there, watching.
I don't know if you've ever been in a dream and something's chasing you and you're having a difficult time moving. It was almost like everything was in slow motion. I'm headed down the ridge at this point, and I remembered that I had a .357 in my backpack. I stopped, pulled out my gun, and just very quickly looked back. I saw a Bigfoot.
In that instant, he had a choice. Fight or run. He could have taken the shot, but he didn't. Instead, survival instinct took over. He turned and ran, crashing through the forest, not stopping until he was far, far from that ridge. Even now, he says, the memory of those thrown stones still makes his skin crawl.
And I knew exactly what was throwing the rocks at us at that point. It was very large. The light was faded to a point to where I couldn't make out facial features, but I was absolutely terrified. I can tell you without a doubt that was one of the scariest moments in my life.
Nestled between Akron and Cleveland lies one of the most hauntingly beautiful stretches of wilderness in Ohio, Cuyahoga Valley National Park. Its name alone stirs nostalgia for locals who grew up fishing its creeks, hiking its trails, or riding the scenic railway that winds through the heart of the valley. But behind that picturesque charm, the park holds a reputation that is anything but serene. For decades, whispers of strange sightings and unexplained encounters have echoed through these hills. Some blame local folklore, others call it superstition, but those who have seen it with their own eyes aren't laughing. Filmmaker and investigator Seth Breedlove of Small Town Monsters returned to this park to chase one such report. A brand new sighting that took place frighteningly close to a location that already has a dark history. To understand this encounter, Seth retraces the story of Joe Kesky's infamous 1995 sighting, where what appeared to be a tree stump suddenly rose out of the water, charging through the marsh, thrashing and splashing as though determined to drive Joe and his friends away. That incident alone might have been dismissed as youthful imagination, if not for what happened years later, only a few hundred yards away.
It was July 7th. It was 11 o'clock in the morning. It was like already 92 degrees outside. Very hot day. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. I was walking these railroad tracks, and when I got halfway down, there's like a covert going under the railroad tracks.
The more recent witness, who has asked to remain anonymous, remembers the day vividly. It was July 7th, she recalls. A brutally hot summer morning, 92 degrees already by 11 o'clock. I was walking along the railroad tracks with my dogs, the kind of quiet, sun-drenched day where you can hear every sound. I stopped on a culvert overlooking the swamp. That's when I saw it. Something tall, impossibly tall, stepped across the tracks ahead of her. It was jet black from head to toe, she said. What froze me was how it moved. It didn't step on the tracks, it stepped over them. Like the entire rail meant nothing to it. She stood there in shock, her dogs still sniffing the brush, blissfully unaware of what had just passed before them. Then the feeling crept in, the primal warning that you are being watched. I called my dogs back. The moment I did, it came back around the thicket. Whatever it was, it crouched down low and just stared at me. I didn't wait to see what it would do next. I ran straight for the houses near the trailhead and told a ranger what I saw. They laughed at me. Her voice hardens at the memory. They treated me like I was making it up, like I'd just seen a hiker. But I know what I saw, and it wasn't a hiker. This kind of dismissal isn't unusual. Even back when Joe Kesky tried to report his sighting, local authorities turned it into a joke, passing it along to the fire department with a chuckle. Yet sightings persist, and many of them, like this one, describe a creature with jet black hair. Researcher Sonia Horstman points out that while Bigfoot sightings in Ohio typically mention brown or reddish fur, there is a strange concentration of reports here in Cuyahoga Valley describing a black figure, tall, thin, and unnervingly quiet. And this witness's story is not an isolated case.
My son would be out there skiing, and of course I'd be asking the people who work there, any good Bigfoot stories? Any good Bigfoot stories? And they said yes, they've been seen at the edge where they have the snow machines blowing. They've been seen watching the snow machines.
Do you think,
again,
like
black
daytime or
Bigfoots?
nighttime?
Well, they do it during the day and night, I think, but they were seen. They were seen there. I'm pretty sure it was during the day, but they blow those snow machines all day, all night.
Yeah.
You know, when the weather's just right.
Yeah.
In 2015, years after her original sighting, she returned to the park with a friend after a snowstorm. Near an old cabin, she spotted a line of bare footprints in the snow, each print spaced nearly 6 feet apart. You could see the mid-tarsal break clear as day, she remembers. They weren't sinking into the snow like we were. Something heavy had walked straight through without breaking the crust. Following the tracks, they found the remains of a deer partially buried near the creek. Whatever left those prints had been feeding there recently, and was likely still nearby.
I can with her to see how she is. So we went down in the creek, and we're walking way back in there, and I probably get maybe 500 feet back in there, and she puts her head down, and she starts growling really low.
For longtime visitors, the valley is full of these unnerving moments. Sonia tells of ski lodge employees spotting something watching the snow machines, and other hikers reporting large figures crossing open fields near the ranger station. Each story adds to the sense that there is a presence here, not just passing through, but returning again and again. Researchers like Mark Mazzell believe the park's waterways are the key. The Cuyahoga River and its many tributaries form a perfect natural corridor for a large animal to travel unseen, slipping in and out of the valley without leaving a trace. For a nocturnal, highly intelligent creature, this would be ideal habitat. and its proximity to towns only deepens the mystery. The valley's lore is tied not just to cryptids, but to legend. Locals still speak of Helltown, an abandoned village on the park's edge rumored to be cursed, or the site of a government cover-up. When you connect the history, the folklore, and the sheer number of modern sightings, you get a picture of a place that is more than just a park. It is a crossroads, where wilderness, memory, and myth collide. Maybe that's why people keep coming back, despite the fear. Maybe it's the river winding through the heart of the valley, or the rolling trails that promise to take you far from ordinary life. Or maybe it's the pull of the unknown. The sense that, just beyond the next tree line, something might be standing there, watching, waiting. Whatever this witness saw that July morning, she never forgot it. For her, and for many others, Cuyahoga Valley is no longer just a scenic escape. It is a place where the ordinary world slips away, and the shadows hold something very real. The clock strikes 12:23 a.m. The dense forests of Wisconsin are cloaked in darkness, the canopy above swallowing any residual light.
It's going to look for prints.
Larry and I were talking about prints in the mud and wondering if prints in the mud only happen on accident.
The air is thick with anticipation. As Matt Moneymaker, Bobo, and Larry Dopke, seasoned members of the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization, BFRO,
I think they may happen on purpose sometimes.
Well, I don't step in mud because I don't like to have muddy feet.
embark on a nocturnal expedition. Their mission to uncover evidence of the elusive Sasquatch. Armed with flashlights, recording equipment, and an unwavering determination, they delve deeper into the woods, their senses heightened with every step.
They don't blink.
Barefoot or not? You don't think so?
They avoid mud because they don't want to leave tracks, not because they care about stepping in mud.
Yeah, but on other occasions, they might purposefully leave tracks.
As they navigate the uneven terrain, the trio discusses recent findings, unusual footprints, broken branches, and distant howls that defy explanation. The forest, silent yet alive, seems to watch their every move. They try to get a reaction by copying sounds they think Bigfoot might make. They laugh while trying different noises, clearly enjoying each other's company, even though it's a little scary.
Remember how you used to do the yoo-hoo?
Yeah.
Like a real sultry, beckoning, loud yoo-hoo.
First of all, yoo-hoo is not sultry, but I'll do a yoo-hoo.
Well,
then, out of nowhere, a loud, high sound breaks the silence of the night. The laughter fades, replaced by a tense silence. The forest responds with an eerie stillness, as if holding its breath. Determined to investigate further, Matt proposes the inchworm technique, a methodical approach where team members leapfrog each other to cover more ground while maintaining stealth.
about 100 yards, I will snap for you, then you guys can go past me again. The inchworm is when one part moves ahead first and then stops, and then the other part catches up.
Matt: I'll go ahead about 500 yards. Once I signal, you guys move past me. We'll keep doing this pattern. This strategy allows them to advance deeper into the woods without alerting potential creatures to their presence.
That way. That's not a loon. Doesn't sound like a loon. It doesn't sound like the coyote noise that was made.
Each movement is calculated, each pause filled with anticipation. As they proceed, the forest begins to reveal its secrets. Faint rustlings, distant knocks, and fleeting shadows suggest they are not alone. The team remains vigilant, documenting every anomaly.
Sticks dragging across each other.
Shh, listen. Listen.
Shh.
Hold on. Did you hear that, Matt?
The realization sends a chill down their spines. The possibility that a Sasquatch is observing them becomes increasingly plausible. As dawn approaches, the team regroups, reflecting on the night's events. While they didn't capture definitive evidence,
Area where a Bigfoot would feel very comfortable because there's a zillion places where it can be out of view very quick.
the experience reinforces their belief in the existence of Bigfoot. The Wisconsin woods hold many secrets, and for Matt, Bobo, and Larry, this night adds another chapter to their ongoing quest. Their dedication exemplifies the human spirit's relentless pursuit of the unknown, reminding us that some mysteries are worth chasing, even in the darkest of nights.
Imitate Matt's coyote. It was definitely odd.
I think there's something up here, man. There's so many little tidbits here and there over the last couple of years in particular.
It was the last day at hunt camp. The sun was high, casting golden beams through the dense canopy of trees. Birds chirped overhead. The forest was quiet, too quiet. No wind, no elk, just stillness, like the woods were holding their breath. One of the hunters, an experienced outdoorsman, decided to set up his blind near an old elk wallow, a muddy depression where bulls often roll and thrash to mark their scent. It was the perfect spot, or so he thought. He sat patiently, surrounded by thick trees and tall whispering grass. The forest had that midday calm, the kind that makes you feel like you're the only one alive for miles. But little did he know, he wasn't alone. No elk showed up, not a single snap of a branch or distant bugle. Just silence. Until something moved. Less than 30 feet away, a massive figure stepped into view, upright, powerful, and completely out of place in the peaceful scenery. The hunter froze, his eyes widened. He wasn't looking at a bear, or a moose, or any creature known to this forest. It was walking on two legs, towering, broad-shouldered, its limbs too long, its gait too smooth to be human. The thing was covered in dark, matted hair, blending almost perfectly into the shadows. But the sunlight caught just enough to expose muscle, mass, and movement. The hunter instinctively raised his camera, hands shaking, but managed to catch clear footage. He whispered, "What is that?" Barely able to believe what he was seeing. The beast didn't seem scared. In fact, it looked like it had been watching him all along. At exactly 2:21 p.m., as he stepped out of the blind to inspect the area, his boots crunched into something strange in the mud. Tracks, big ones, nearly twice the size of a man's foot. Deep impressions, clear, unmistakable toes. The stride was too long to be a person faking it. His heart pounded in his chest. He crouched low, tracing the print with his finger, the size and depth sending chills up his spine. This wasn't just an encounter. It was evidence. A single question echoed in his head. Was that Bigfoot? The forest had returned to silence, but it felt different now, like something just beneath the surface was watching, waiting. He packed up slowly, eyes scanning the trees, every crack of a twig behind him making his skin crawl. He left that forest with more than just footage. He left with a story, one that blurred the line between myth and reality. And though he made it out safely, he'll never forget the moment he locked eyes with something not meant to be found. Would you? Ohio is one of the most active Bigfoot hotspots in the United States, second only to the Pacific Northwest. Hundreds of reports pour in from across the state. Sightings, tracks, and even strange, unexplainable vocalizations. But one story from the outskirts of Minerva, Ohio stands out. Josh and his family live near a chicken farm on the edge of town, surrounded by open land and thick woods. For years, they brushed off the strange noises they heard at night. Then one day, Josh's kids came running inside, swearing they had seen Bigfoot near the fence line by the pile of dead chickens. Josh laughed it off, until he saw it for himself. It was broad daylight when it happened. Josh, along with a neighbor farmer, saw an all-black figure crossing 300 yards of open land with shocking speed. It wasn't running like a man, nor lumbering like a bear. Instead, It moved with a strange, mechanical precision, almost like a robot. Josh, who stands 6 feet 3 inches and weighs over 300 pounds, swears the creature was much larger than him. It was solid black from head to toe, with no visible eyes or facial features. Just a massive, dark figure moving deliberately across the field before disappearing into the tree line. Josh is no stranger to the woods. He owns thermal equipment and often goes coyote hunting in the area. But he insists he's never seen anything like this before or since. To make things even stranger, there have been eerie vocalizations recorded in the area, deep, powerful calls that don't sound like dogs or any known wildlife.
What I'm recording right now sounds very similar to what I heard back in 1991 or 92. Does not sound like a dog at all.
Whatever stalks the farmlands of Minerva, it isn't just a story. And for Josh, it turned him from a skeptic into a believer overnight. Some pictures leave you staring longer than you expect. Not because they're perfect, but because they raise questions you can't shake off. Tonight we're looking at 3 Bigfoot photos that continue to spark debate, each with strange details that logic alone struggles to dismiss. The first is called the Beast of 7 Chutes. This image was taken in Quebec back in June 2005 by a truck driver passing through a park known for its waterfalls. At first glance, the photo looks like nothing more than a river and trees. But zoom in on the lower right corner, and a shape emerges. A tall, dark figure with broad shoulders, long arms, and what looks like a dome-shaped head. Some believe it's holding something pale, maybe an animal, maybe even a missing pet. The more you look, the harder it is to ignore its size and posture. Skeptics say it's just a log or a trick of the light, but side-by-side comparisons show whatever it was didn't match human proportions. The photographer even returned later with a friend to stand in the same spot, proving the figure was much larger than an average man. The second image brings us to Louisiana in 2013.
Flipping through all the photos he'd taken and reminiscing. Whatever the anomalous thing he captured is, it was quite far from him at the time, which is why you can only really get a good look at it when you do a whole lot of zooming into that bottom right-hand corner. When you do, you see what appears very strongly to be a bipedal humanoid figure with dark fur.
When the Duhan family set up a trail camera on their private land, the photo it captured doesn't shout for attention. At first, you might only notice a hunting blind and some crows on the ground. But just left of the blind, a bulky, upright figure stands quietly. Its stance is odd, bow-legged, with arms that seem longer than normal. When the team from Finding Bigfoot visited the site, they measured the blind for scale. Even with a nearly 7-foot-tall crew member standing in, the proportions didn't quite match. The figure in the photo looked taller, broader, and shaped in a way that didn't fit a man in a costume. Then there's the third photo, taken in Washington on Christmas Day 2009. A trail camera triggered at night captured a crouched figure near a picnic table. Its build was massive, its shoulders thick, and its back showed a vertical muscle line that's common in great apes, but not in bears. The white fur wasn't long, but thick enough to give the body a heavy outline.
Taken by a motion-triggered trail camera set up by the members of Extreme Expeditions Northwest LLC. People have successfully found Sasquatch while looking for it, but it does tend to make me scrutinize things more carefully. Obviously, the image was captured at night, as you can see, and the trail camera was in infrared mode. The figure appears to be crouching or kneeling, rummaging through items on or beside the picnic table.
Comparing the table's size to the subject, the creature appeared wider and more solid than any person could be. Even more telling, Its posture was awkward for a human but natural for something powerful, moving low to the ground. Each of these photos brings up the same tension. Are we looking at hoaxes, or is this rare evidence of something real? Skeptics argue pareidolia, costumes, or clever setups. Believers point to the anatomical details, the scale, and the settings that make hoaxes less likely. In an age where digital tricks are everywhere, no single photo will be proof. But together, these three still raise a haunting possibility. Maybe the reason they're hard to dismiss isn't just what's captured, but how ordinary the settings are. A family outing, a hunting trip, a quiet Christmas day. Moments when nobody expected anything unusual, yet something unusual appeared. So, what do you think? Are these just blurry coincidences, or did the cameras really catch a glimpse of something science hasn't named yet? Sometimes a simple walk in the woods can turn into something you never expected. That's what happened on this trip with David and Ralph. The plan was simple. A day walk near Howler's Hill, a place already tied to strange stories and strange noises. But the quiet walk quickly turned into something different. From the very beginning, the forest felt unsettled. Trees leaned in strange angles, root balls pulled straight out of the ground as if lifted with no dirt clinging to them. David pointed one out, a tree that looked like it had been pulled straight up from the earth. No storm had come through, no heavy winds to explain the damage, just something odd, right in front of them. They moved deeper in, finding feathers scattered, bones picked clean, and strange bends in the trees. The signs kept piling up. None of it fit with a normal hike. And then came the first knocks. A sharp, clear sound, wood striking wood. It carried across the hollow, deep and deliberate.
That was a knock. Not back. One knock, please. Right here. I can't tell.
Everyone stopped. They knocked back. Another reply followed. The forest was speaking. They pushed forward along a narrow deer trail, hoping to find the larger path. But every few steps, something shifted. Rustles in the brush. Quick movements they couldn't quite see. The deeper they went, the stranger it all became. Near one mound, David mentioned stories. That these could be burial sites. Some even said to give off radiation. They checked with a meter. Nothing showed this time, but the weight of the legend was enough to hang in the air. And then it came again. The howls.
Why are they howling like that? Is that a howl?
I couldn't tell if that was the plane or a howl.
That wasn't a plane. That's the plane. I heard so. It sounded like a howl. Maybe I picked it up. But see, like this mound over here, I just want to see if there's any action. Also, no red. Not even once.
Low, long, not a plane, not a dog, but something that rolled across the woods. One howl, then another. Each one made them pause, turn, listen harder. The kind of sound that roots you to the ground before you even know why. The woods themselves seemed to shape around them. Trees were downed in numbers too strange for such a small patch of land. Bends crossed trails, almost like barriers. Some pieces of wood looked wedged into cracks, fitted tight without any stump nearby. Things you wouldn't expect to find unless they were placed. As night pressed in, the forest only grew darker. A shadow seemed to hang heavier than the fading daylight.
It does. It doesn't. I don't know how to explain it. Like, it's darker. Like, I know it's getting dark, but I don't know. It's weird. It's like a shadow's looming. Well, I don't know if it is a trail. It looks like it goes into there. And maybe that's a trail I found over there.
One of them said it felt like a shadow looming, not just the evening falling. Then came the eyes. Across a stump, something glowed back at them. First a shadow, then two shapes that looked like eyes blinking. But when the light hit, there was nothing there. The camera caught the strange shift. Part shadow, part glow, something that seemed to disappear the moment it was lit. The walk ended with more questions than answers. Odd structures, strange bends, knocks that replied, howls that rose where no one else should have been, and eyes that didn't match any simple explanation. So what was it that hid across from Howler's Hill that day? An animal out of sight? A trick of the dark? Or something much older, moving just beyond reach?
Like, no, you're not, are you seeing the face next to it right there? Right, it's getting greener. Like, I thought that it was all one thing, like part shadow, part whatever those eyes are. Did it just blink? Oh, I swear it just blinked. Woohoo, hi.
The deeper we look, the stranger it gets. From wood knocks in War Woman Dell to jet black figures in Cuyahoga Valley. From hypnotized children to rock-throwing giants, these encounters leave us with more questions than answers. Are these creatures guardians of the wild? Or warnings we're not meant to ignore? The wilderness keeps its secrets well, but one thing is certain. Out there, beyond the firelight, something is still watching.